What
Yes,
could,
miss.
yes, what could be the answer for this?
The core is copper because it conducts electricity well.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. The answer is B, the plastic coating and the metal core. So over here, the statement is says that the coating is plastic because it conducts electricity well. That's incorrect because plastic is an insulator. The core of copper because it conducts electricity well, and that's the reason all your cable wires inside there is a copper wire because of its very high conductivity. So answer for this is B. Next one. When a substance X is electrolyzed, the amount of gas P and Q are formed. What is substance X? So Vanya, can you tell me what will be the substance X over here?
Is it C?
Okay, C. Let us check whether your answer is correct or not. So now, when substance X is electrolyzed, the amount of gases P and Q are formed. Now, P is at negative electrode, so which means negative. This is cathode, and this is anode. So let us write over here for negative and for positive. Now, concentrated aqueous NaCl. So NaCl plus H2O, but it is concentrated. At negative electrode, there will be H2, and at positive electrode, there will be Cl2. For B, concentrated hydrochloric acid, it will again be H2 and Cl2 because it is concentrated. So oxygen will not be liberated at anode. It will be halide which will be liberated at anode. Dilute sulfuric acid. Dilute sulfuric acid will have H2 and O2, and molten lead bromide is Pb and Br2. Now D option automatically gets ruled out. Okay, D option automatically gets ruled out. The reason is because they are telling that P and Q both are gas. So over here, P is solid and Q is a gas, so D gets ruled out. Now question is, can you see the difference over here? The P has more volume and Q has less volume. Okay. This is what we have to understand. When there is H2 and O2, means water is liberated as H2O versus in these two cases, which is HCl. So in HCl, hydrogen is to chlorine ratio is 1:1. Means the gap or the gas which is produced has to be in equal ratio. But when we talk about H2O, hydrogen to oxygen ratio is 2:1. So H2 will be double amount. And that's the reason answer is C. Is everybody clear why the answer is C? See, A and B both are gas, hydrogen and chlorine. So answer can be A, B or C. But why it is C? Because you need to check the difference over here, the volume. And H2O, which is water, the amount of volume, the volume of hydrogen which is produced is actually more. Okay, volume of hydrogen produced is actually more. Okay, let's go to the third question. What are the products at electrodes when dilute sulfuric acid is electrolyzed using inert electrodes? We just now did it about dilute sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4 plus H2O in large quantity. H2O will be in more quantity because it is dilute. So Alia, can you tell me what could be at anode and what could be at cathode?
Yes, miss. At the anode, it will be oxygen.
Yes, because it is dilute, so at anode it will be oxygen.
And
And
at cathode, it will be hydrogen. So
yes, that's absolutely correct. So answer has to be B. The only option which has anode as oxygen is B. Okay, fourth one. Electricity is passed separately through conc HCl, concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, and dilute sulfuric acid. in which rows are the electrolysis product correctly named? Manas,
Yes, miss.
what will be the answer? For concentrated HCl, it's concentrated HCl. So HCl plus H2O. So definitely I know that hydrogen will be one of the product.
Miss, miss, it is C, 1 and 3 only.
Okay, let us check. Let us check. So over here, hydrogen is definitely one of the product. Everybody agrees with that. Hydrogen will be one of the product. So we know that hydrogen is a positive ion, so it will be liberated at cathode. So hydrogen and chlorine. So one has to be my answer. Now, how many options? So can I say D automatically gets ruled out? Now I have to check for 2. Concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. Now in concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, we have NaCl plus H2O, but we know that for between Na plus and H plus, okay, between Na plus and H plus, there is only hydrogen which will be liberated, means at cathode there cannot be sodium. So this is ruled out. So if second is ruled out, which option is left? 1 and 3. We don't even have to go to check the third option. We can directly write 1 and 3 because there is no option as only 1. Okay, so that's why the answer is C. Question number 5. Which row describes the electrolysis of molten potassium bromide? Noora? Which row describes the electrolysis of molten potassium bromide?
Miss, B, bromine at the anode and potassium at the cathode.
Yes, since it's molten potassium bromide, okay, KBr molten, it will be K plus Br minus. So K plus will give K and Br minus will give you Br2. Negative will go to anode and positive will go to cathode. So bromine and potassium, answer is B. Good. Next one, 6th one. Okay, 6th one, Jessica. The diagram shows a section of an overhead power cable. Which statement explains why a particular substance is used?
It would be A, aluminum has a low density and is a good conductor of electricity.
Yes. So overhead power cables will have aluminium because aluminium has a lower density. So we need something which, so that it does not sag. So that's why aluminium is a metal with a low density, and yes, it's a metal, so it will have a good conductor of electricity. So the answer is absolutely correct. Very good. 7th one. 7th one, Kashni will answer this. The diagram shows the electrolysis of concentrated HCl and concentrated aqueous sodium chloride using carbon electrodes. At which electrodes is hydrogen produced? Yes, at which electrode is hydrogen produced? See, we know that hydrogen produces from H plus. Means it has to be a negative electrode. So electrode 1 and electrode 3, wherever there is 1 and 3, automatically gets ruled out. So A automatically gets ruled out. So now, yes, Kashni.
I think it's C.
Okay, let us check.
Electrode 2 only. Yeah.
Okay. Now concentrated HCl, okay, concentrated HCl, can I say H2 will be formed, H2 and Cl2 will be formed?
Yeah.
So which means at electrode 2, it is going to be formed. So 2 has to be there, and electrode, this A is also incorrect. Now concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. So NaCl plus H2O. Can I say there are 4 ions, Na plus, Cl minus, H plus and OH minus. Competition between Na plus and H plus. Who is less reactive? Who is less reactive?
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen. So can I say H2 will be formed because what's the rule of cathode? the less reactive
Less reactive.
cation will deposit.
Yeah.
Answer will be 2 and
D.
4. Okay,
Okay.
answer will be 2 and 4. So for such kind of a questions, take a moment, okay, take a moment and just think of the products and you will get the answer. Okay. Okay, next question, question number 8, Nabiha. What are the electrode products when molten silver iodide is electrolyzed between inert electrodes? What are the electrode products when molten silver iodide is electrolyzed between inert electrodes? Yes, Nabiha, so yes, molten electrolyte, so it's Ag plus and I minus. So Ag plus silver at cathode and iodine at anode. That's absolutely correct. Good. Next one, Uma. Copper and hydrogen can be formed by electrolysis. At which electrodes are these elements formed? Copper and hydrogen can be made each from electrolysis. At which electrode are these elements formed?
Copper at the cathode and hydrogen at the cathode as well.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So answer is D. We know that copper is Cu2 plus and hydrogen is H plus. So we need to check the ions. Both the ions are positive, so they will be discharged at negative electrode, which is cathode. That's absolutely correct. Good. 10th one, Arnav. The diagram shows a failed attempt to copper plate a pan. Which action will plate the pan with copper? Yes or no?
Miss, is it D?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. It is D. Now this is a part of electroplating. In electroplating, what is the rule in electroplating? The rule is the object to be plated. The object to be plated will be at negative electrode. The object to be plated will be at negative electrode. That's cathode. Okay, so that's why you need to just switch the terminals. The object, that is the pan, will be at cathode and the metal to be at anode. Okay. Next one. Okay, next one, who is left? Andrew. The diagram shows the electroplating of a steel object. A student made the following statements. Which statements are correct?
1 and 3.
1 and 3. Let's check. Now, copper is the metal and copper sulfate, steel object. Now, object turns reddish brown color. Yes, it will turn reddish brown color because of the deposition of copper. Okay. So, statement 1 is correct, which means option B is wrong. The copper sulfate solution changes to pale blue color. No, we haven't learned about changing the color of copper sulfate. So no, that's incorrect. And copper electrode becomes smaller. Yes, we have learned that anode gets diminished. So 1 and 3 answer is C, absolutely correct. Okay, let's come to 12th one. 12th one, we'll start with Manas. An object is electroplated with silver using an aqueous silver salt. Which set of conditions is used?
Miss, so the object that has to be electroplated should be at the cathode,
Correct.
and the other electrode should also be made of silver. Hence, the answer is D.
That's absolutely correct, because we have just now learned that for electroplating, the object to be plated should be at anode, it should be at cathode, and whichever metal we need to electroplate, that has to be connected to anode. That's correct, Manas. Okay, next one, Noora. The diagram shows an electrolysis experiment during the electrolysis, sodium was formed at electrode P, okay, and chlorine at electrode Q. Which row correctly identifies P, Q, and X?
Miss D.
Okay, so let us check. If electrode P has to be sodium, means it is Na plus, so your electrode P needs to be negative. Negative means it has to be cathode. So answer cannot be A and B. If P is cathode, Q has to be my anode. So answer has to be from C and D. Now, there is only one possibility where there is Na plus, sodium can be liberated if it is a molten electrolyte. There can be only molten electrolyte where Na plus is liberated. So answer becomes D. Very good. Next. Okay, 13. This is the questions till your 13 questions. So this gives an overview as how the questions on electrolysis is asked. Any doubts in these questions? Like anybody have not understood any questions, or some of you have written wrong answer? Yes, any doubts in these questions in MCQ? Yes, no? Can we go for structured questions? Yes? Okay.
Yes, miss.
Okay, so let's go to structured questions. Now, structured questions over here, important challenges that we need to understand the markings, like what marks they have asked for and how much to write, because it's not that they demand for so many, stories or something like that. So we have to be very crisp in writing the answers. Okay. So let us go with question number 1. Okay, question number 1. Question number 1 asks that aluminium is an important metal with a wide range of uses. Aluminium is obtained by electrolysis of aluminium oxide, which is dissolved in molten cryolite. Okay. Solid aluminium oxide is a poor conductor of electricity. It conducts either when molten or when dissolved in molten cryolite. Explain why. Now it's a 2-mark question. So Akbar, can you tell me what could be the answer for this? What you have written?
So what I've written is adding cryolite increases conductivity and melting up loosens up the particles, allowing electricity to pass through.
Can you repeat the second point?
Melting it loosens up the particles, allowing electricity to pass through.
Loosen up the particles.
Yeah, what I was thinking was kind of hard to explain, so I just thought of the first thing that came to mind.
Okay, your explanation is correct, but the first statement which you said, that cryolite is added so as to increase the conductivity, okay, but over here the question they have asked is solid aluminum oxide is a poor conductor of electricity. It conducts either when molten or when dissolved in molten cryolite, which means that we need to ask, and yes, Andrew.
Because aluminum oxide is an ionic compound, and it doesn't conduct electricity in solid state. It can either conduct when molten or dissolved in another, in something else which is molten.
Yeah, correct. So basically, to increase the conductivity, like why do we say that it has to be in molten state or in aqueous state? The reason is because in molten state, it will be, in liquid state, there will be more movement of ions. And that's the reason that ionic compound in molten or liquid state conducts electricity. Okay. So what we should write over here is that in solid state, there are no free ions. So that gives me a reason for why solid aluminum oxide do not conduct electricity. So in solid state, there are no free ions, but in molten or liquid state, but in molten or liquid state, there are movement of the ions which conducts electricity, Okay, so this gives us 2 marks. Moving on to the next question. Why is a solution of aluminum oxide in molten cryolite is used rather than molten aluminum oxide? Now over here is the answer that it is used to reduce the melting point or to increase the conductivity when dissolved in cryolite. So over here, one you can write to reduce the melting point, because it's a 1 mark question. So reduce the melting point, that is 1 mark, or we can write that to increase the conductivity of electrolytes. Okay, so to increase the conductivity of electrolytes. Okay, next one. Explain why carbon anodes need to be replaced periodically. So, Kashni, why carbon anodes need to be replaced periodically?
I'm actually not sure. Is it because they're explosive?
Okay, it's not
Miss,
because, yes, one
carbon
second.
anodes, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, tell, no problem.
Miss, does it keep on getting, I think it starts breaking every time it gets used.
It gets used up, or we
If,
can
yeah.
write it in a better way as it reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, because oxygen is liberated at anode, right? So carbon anodes, now at anode in the electrolysis of alumina, it's oxygen which is liberated. So we can write that carbon reacts with O2, forming carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Okay, next one, Vanya will answer. One reason why graphite is used for electrodes is that it is a good conductor of electricity. Is that because it is a good conductor of electricity? What can be another use?
Miss, I wrote that graphite's inert.
Yes, very good. It is inert or it is unreactive. It is inert or unreactive. Okay. Next one. Aluminium is used to make food containers because it resists corrosion. Explain why it is not attacked by acids in the food. Jessica? Or why?
It's unreactive and prevents corrosion.
Yes. So basically what happens, like, why do we also use aluminum foil to protect our food or to keep our food for a longer time? The reason is because aluminum has a power to make an oxide layer on itself. That's basically, that process is called as anodizing. So aluminum it forms a protective layer, which is aluminum oxide, which covers the aluminum from getting corroded, because it is the metal which gets corroded. It's not the oxide layer which gets corroded. So let's say, suppose if this is an aluminum wire, so aluminum wire is exposed to the environment and it forms an oxide layer. It forms a protective layer on itself, which is aluminum oxide, which prevents further corrosion of aluminum. So since it's a 2 mark question, okay, we need to write, we definitely that 1 point will not suffice. So we have to write both the points, that why it is not attacked by acid. So we will write that aluminum forms a protective layer of aluminum oxide on it, which prevents further corrosion, okay, which prevents further corrosion of aluminium. And that's how aluminium is protected. Okay, that's how aluminium is protected. Okay, coming on to the next question, the C part. Aluminium is used for overhead power electricity cables, which usually have a steel core. Give two properties of aluminium which makes it suitable for this use. Now, this was, an interlinked question which we had done in multiple choice. So, Nabiha, can you tell me what could be other two properties? Why aluminium is used on the overhead power cable? Okay, no problem. Wanya, can you tell me?
Miss, I wrote that it's a good conductor of electricity and that it's lightweight.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. So it is because of its low density and it conducts electricity. Because see, it's a metal, so it will conduct electricity. So number one, because of its low density. And second one, because good conductor of electricity. Next, explain why the cables have a steel core. Adi, can you tell me what could be the answer? Why it has a steel core?
So it can conduct electricity faster.
Steel will not conduct electricity because steel is an alloy.
I'm not sure.
Yes, anybody who has raised hands? Yes, Andrew.
For strength.
Yes. So remember over here, when we are having a metal which is in pure state, like let's say iron, it will conduct electricity because it's a metal. But why that iron is being converted into an alloy, like which is a steel? Because all alloys will have a greater strength as compared to the pure metal. That's also the reason that if we want to make any jewelries, we never make jewelries of 24 karat gold. Okay, 24 karat gold, yes, it is costliest, but we don't make jewelries out of it because it is very, very soft. When we go to buy jewelry, it is always 22 karat or 21 or 18. So the highest jewelry is of 22 karat, which means 22 parts will be gold and 2 parts can be some different element like it can be copper, silver, maybe germanium or anything. So the reason is because pure metal is very, very soft. So when we convert it into alloys, it is always because to strengthen the property. So over here, explain why the cables have a steel core. So steel is an alloy. So it is because to increase the strength. To increase the strength. Okay, so this was about our first question. Let's go to question number 2. Now, question number 2 is the purification of bauxite uses large amount of sodium hydroxide. Okay, that's for purification. Describe the chemistry of how NaOH, sodium hydroxide, is made from concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. The description must include at least one ionic equation. And it's a 5-mark question. So, yes, Andrew, can you tell me?
When concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed, chlorine forms at the positive electrode and also sodium hydroxide, and at the negative electrode, hydrogen is formed.
Okay, and we have to also include one equation, correct? So now over here, since see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 5 lines, we have 5 marks. So how to write such equations, such questions? So how do we write such questions is, we write what all things are required in an electrolysis. So we will write that electrolyte used is concentrated aqueous NaCl, concentrated aqueous NaCl. At anode, chlorine gas is liberated. Or to be precise, we can also write greenish yellow gas, chlorine is liberated. At cathode, H2 gas is liberated. Electrolyte used is concentrated aqueous NaCl, and we need to write one more point over here, using electrolysis as a technique. So at anode, at cathode, and then we have to write the solution contains, or we can write the solution is left with Na plus and OH minus ions forming NaOH. And equation, so we can write any anode or cathode equation, whichever is convenient. So anode equation, since at anode it's chlorine and it is oxidation, loss of electrons, so Cl minus, losing electron, forming Cl, but we know Cl is diatomic, so Cl2, so 2 Cl minus, minus 2 electrons. And one more extra we can write as cathode equation, which is H plus plus electron forming H and H2, 2H plus and 2 electrons. So this gives you 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark, and 1. Total 5. Okay. Because they have asked us to at least mention one ionic equation. Okay, let's go to the next question. Making sodium hydroxide from sodium chloride product produces 2 other chemicals. Name these 2 chemicals and state one use of it. So along with sodium hydroxide, we know another chemical produces hydrogen. And what's the use of hydrogen? We can write in making ammonia is one of the use of hydrogen, or it is used as a fuel. That is also one of the uses of hydrogen. Another chemical which is produced is chlorine gas. So use of chlorine gas is as a disinfectant. Or we can also write or making HCl. It is used in swimming pools, making PVC, so many things. Sanitation cannot be a actual word. Disinfection or disinfectant, or we can write water treatment or killing bacteria. That needs to be there. Okay.
Miss, how about for bleach?
Yes, we can also write use as a bleaching agent. It can be used to make bleach, also. That's also correct. Okay. So this was about question number 2. So it's total 7 marks. 13 marks is actually, there is something else also. Okay. Any doubts till here? Can we go for the next question? Question number 3. Okay. I'll be just back in 2 minutes. Now, during electrolysis, ions move in the electrolyte and electrons move in the external circuit. So ions is something which will be moving inside the electrolyte, and electrons will be moving in an external circuit. Now, reaction occurs at electrode. The diagram shows the electrolysis of molten lithium iodide, which is LiI. Draw an arrow on the diagram to show the direction of electron flow in the external circuit, how it will be.
Miss, from left to right?
From left to right means from negative terminal to positive, or from anode to cathode?
Anode to cathode.
Yeah, remember electrons, the flow of electrons will be from anode to cathode. So it will be like this. Okay, anode to cathode. Because anode is what? Loss of electrons, and who is gaining the electrons? Cathode. So anode will lose electrons. From their electrons will travel to cathode, and that is how the flow of electrons is. Next one, electrons are supplied to the external circuit. How and where is this done? So we can say that at anode, okay, at anode, oxidation takes place. Oxidation takes place, which is loss of electrons.
Miss, sorry, I didn't understand the above question. You said anode to cathode, but isn't the negative electrode cathode?
So anode to cathode, correct? So from anode, it will be going and electrons will be, oh, sorry. So it will be like this. Yeah, it will be from anode to cathode, correct. From negative to positive. Means anode, from anode, the electrons will travel and it will go to positive electron. Towards cathode, from anode to cathode, basically. Okay, so at anode, oxidation takes place, which is loss of electrons, and it is gained by cathode, where reduction takes place. Okay, so this is about how electrons are formed from anode. I mean, anode will lose electrons, and that electrons will be taken up by cathode. Question number 2. Electrons are supplied to the external circuit. Okay, this is a repeat. This is a repeat question. Third one. Explain why solid lithium iodide does not conduct electricity, but when molten, it is a good conductor. So again, it's a question like first one, which we have done, that in solid, there are no formation of ions. In solid, there is no formation of ions. So no conduction of electricity. In solid, there is no formation of ions, and ions cannot conduct electricity. There is no movement. Okay, next one, the B part. The results of the experiment on electrolysis are shown in the following table. Complete the table. The first line has been done for you. Electrolyte is aqueous copper sulfate. Now, remember, if there is no concentrated or dilute is given to us, okay, we have to consider to be dilute. If they have mentioned only aqueous, consider to be dilute. For concentrated, they will mention concentrated. So, Noora, can you, sorry, not Noora, Vanya, can you tell me what will be product at cathode?
Miss, I wrote copper.
Yes, because it is aqueous copper sulfate, so CuSO4 plus H2O. There will be 4 ions, Cu2 plus, SO4 2 minus, H plus, and OH minus. Between Cu2 plus and H plus, we know the less reactive cation is Cu. So yes, it will be copper. Product at anode is oxygen, and the electrolyte will change too. So if copper and OH is liberated, what is left? It will change to. It will change to what?
Sulfuric acid.
Yes, because it will be H plus 1, SO4 2 minus, cross multiply. It will be sulfuric acid. Okay, if it is molten, then yes, it gets consumed. Next is potassium chloride, which is concentrated. So KCl plus H2O. Once again, K plus Cl minus, H plus OH minus, but it is concentrated. Electrodes is carbon, which is an inert, that's graphite actually. Product at cathode. What will be product at cathode? Akbar, what will be product at cathode?
Hydrogen.
Yes, very good. It will be hydrogen. So this got liberated. Product at anode is chlorine because it is concentrated. And what will be electrolyte changes to? Oh, sorry. Electrolyte changes to. Huma, electrolyte will be changed to.
Potassium hydroxide.
Yes, very good. KOH, because there is K plus and OH minus, which is left, they will combine and it will be KOH. Very good. Moving on to next question. The C part. The diagram below shows the electrolysis of dilute sulfuric acid. Hydrogen is formed at negative electrode. So hydrogen at negative electrode and oxygen at positive electrode. And the concentrated sulfuric acid increases. The diagram is given. The ions present in dilute acids are H plus, OH minus, and SO4 2 minus. Write an equation for the reaction at cathode. 2-mark question. So who will answer this? Alia?
Yes, miss. Should I annotate it or?
No, you can just tell. You can tell me.
Okay, miss.
At cathode, hydrogen is formed.
So it'll be 2H plus 2E gives hydrogen.
So 2H plus 2E gives?
H2.
Anything needs to be added or this is the final thing?
Miss, we have to add the charges, I think.
We have to add H plus over here. Okay, because it's an ion. All negative or maybe positive electrode reactions which are there, whether it's cathode or anode, we have to start with an ion. If we are starting with a positive electrode, then it's gain of electron, and if we are starting with a negative ion, then it's loss of electrons. So it is 2H plus 2 electrons gives H2. Balancing is for 1 mark and writing equation is for 1 mark. So that's how it is 2 marks. Next one, complete the equation for the reaction at positive electrode, which is anode. So we know that anode always it will be from OH minus ions. Losing electrons will give you O2 plus dash. So Arnav.
Miss, I'm not sure.
Okay, Manas.
So it will be Miss 2H2O.
Okay. And see, there are 4 OH minus. Okay, 4 OH minus. So it will form 2H2O. That's correct. And there will be 1 molecule of oxygen. Now I had told you. Yes, Vanya.
Miss is a 4E minus 4
Yes,
electrons.
4 electrons. See, now over here, remember, for cathode equation, for anode equation, that is loss of electrons. Okay. So anode equation, I'm giving you an example. You can write like this: 4OH minus 4E, giving 2H2O plus O2. This is one way of representation, means you can write the electrons before arrow minus 4E. That also you can write, or you can write in the way which is given to you, which is 4OH minus losing 4 electrons plus 2H2O plus O2. Okay. So this is something which you can write it in both ways, and just excuse me for 1 minute. I'll be back. Whether you want to write minus electrons first or electrons on the opposite side of the arrow, but both is one and the same. Next one, suggest an explanation of why concentration of sulfuric acid increases. Adi, yes, can you answer this?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Who can answer this? Why the concentration of sulfuric acid increases? See, it is H2SO4 dilute. Okay, means there is already water. Anode, it's dilute, right? Yes, Manas.
So when something is dilute, it means it has more water content.
Correct.
And because both hydrogen and oxygen being liberated, there'll be more ions of sulfuric acid.
Yes, that's absolutely correct, Manas. Good. So over here we can see that at anode oxygen is liberated and at cathode H2 eventually, which means water is getting used up. So if water is getting liberated, definitely the concentration of H2SO4 will increase. So explanation why concentration of sulfuric acid increase, because it is water which is used up. It's a 1 mark question. So we will write that water is being liberated or water is used up. So eventually my sulfuric acid becomes more and more concentrated. That's absolutely correct. And moving on to the last question. In the apparatus used in the sea, the power supply is removed and immediately replaced by a voltmeter. A reading on the voltmeter shows that electrical energy is being produced. Suggest an explanation for how this energy is produced. Manas, wait. Yes, how this energy is produced. Yes, Vanya.
Miss, I'm not sure, but what I wrote was it may be from the oxidation of oxygen, and oxygen loses 2 electrons, and that would move to the cathode and provide energy. Like, yeah.
Okay, so now over here, basically what is happening is, now this is not a actual part of electrolysis, okay, but still we can ask Manas, because Manas has raised hand. Yes, Manas, what is your answer?
I think it was the previous electrons that were passing in the wire that were left in the solution.
Okay. Okay, so now over here, it is basically a part which is called as hydrogen oxygen fuel. Hydrogen is acting as a fuel, right? We know one of the uses of hydrogen which act as a fuel. So over here, what happens is when there is a formation of hydrogen and oxygen at one end, the fuel, I mean, hydrogen act as a fuel, and that is the one which produces energy, because fuel is something which produces energy, right? So over here, what we are going to write is that it is hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. It is a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, okay, where the reaction means H2 reacts with oxygen to produces water. So H2 plus O2 produces water, and this reaction produces energy. This reaction produces energy. Okay. And it is an exothermic process. It's an exothermic process. So over here, you know what is happening over here? It is like, let's say, you know, this dry cell which you put it in your maybe AC remote or maybe in the mouse. Now, what is happening? What is that cell? Can I say there is a chemical energy inside the cell which is getting converted to what? Electrical energy. Okay, over here, remember, it is not electrolysis. It is ulta. It is called as electrochemical cell. Means in electrolysis, what is happening? Due to electricity, chemical energy was taking place. There was a breaking down of compound. But now over here, instead of battery, the voltmeter is used. So what is happening? Whatever the chemical reaction is taking place between H2 and O2, that is converted into electrical energy. So over here, there is a conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy. So this hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is not a direct topic of electrolysis. There is a topic which is called as electricity and electrical cell, which is a small topic where instead of using graphite and carbon electrodes, there are metal electrodes which are used. And depending on, you know, which metal electrode you are using, how will be the difference in voltmeter. So basically electrochemical cell, so but that is not a direct part of electrolysis. So this is something which we will be studying in the later part, like not now, like later when it's a different topic. Actually, it's a different subject concept. So over here, this is indirect way of electrolysis because it is reverse of electrolysis. In electrolysis, I repeat once again, electrolysis from the word using electricity, we are breaking a compound. And this process is when chemical reaction is taking place, electricity is generated. So it is a chemical energy to electrical energy, and electrolysis was electrical energy to chemical energy. And this was overall about the whole concept of electrolysis. So you have already studied about, like, you know, how MCQ questions can be asked, how theory questions can be asked. You should know, like, you have to look at the marks. The main thing is where you have to look at the marks, that for how many marks they have asked. Also, you have to write the answers in a very crisp format. Okay, you don't have to write long stories because they will definitely not give you that many space. But even if they give you space, but you have to be very sure about what you need to write, because that is something which will give you the marks. Okay, so this was an overall view about electrolysis, and with this we have completed the whole one topic, a very important topic, electrolysis. And when we are meeting next, we will be starting with another very crucial topic, which is organic chemistry, hydrocarbons. So that is what we are going to start with the next topic, fuels. Yeah, the equation is not balanced. Thank you. It has to be 2H2. Thank you, Manas. It has to be 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. So yeah, next topic will be our hydrocarbons. And just to inform you that this week we won't be having a lecture on Tuesday. reason due to Eid holiday. So Tuesday and Wednesday, there will be no lecture. So this week, we will be having only lecture of today, that's on Sunday. Tuesday is a holiday. We will directly be meeting on next Sunday for the lecture. And over there, we will be starting with organic, which is another very crucial topic for year 11. Okay, guys, so with this, we'll end up the session for today. Thank you very much. See you in the next lecture and enjoy your holidays and have a great day. See you on Sunday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you,
Bye.
Miss.
Bye. Thank you.